Hey, this is Aaron Comos from Spin Doctors, and you're listening to the Midwest Mixtape Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Midwest Mixtape Podcast, brought to you by The Barn. You got the Mox here, and I'm joined online right now with a special guest. We have Aaron from Spin Doctors. Aaron, how are you, man?
Man, how's it going?
Doing really well. Hey, new album coming out from the Spin Doctors. It's been a minute, right? But new album, Face Full of Cake, coming out in April. And how did this come together? I hear it maybe started around the pandemic time, and some of the writing started around that time. But how did it fully come together here?
Well, yeah, we started doing some writing during the pandemic, and then about a year and a half, 2 years in, we had been doing some right when things started to open up again, and we started doing some shows. And we went into the studio. Our bass player, Jack Daley, who's our new bass player, has a really great studio in Asbury Park. So we went and hung out down there for a couple weeks, and we sort of went in really with the goal of just recording some of these new songs. We had about 11, 12 new songs. We wanted to get some really good quality demos. And it just went so well. At the end of it, we were like, wow, this is a record, man, you know? But it was just sort of I think it really came out sounding really fresh because there was absolutely no pressure on us. You know, we didn't have a record deal at the time, and we were just in there having a good time trying to, get the songs on tape. And it came out great. So it's taken a little minute to find a record deal. We got one with Capitol Records, and they're putting out the record in April. We have our first single and video came out a few weeks ago. It's called Still a Gorilla. And we're going to be putting out videos every month or so leading up to the album release.
Let's talk about Still a Gorilla. You have the lyric video out now. I would say it's a little bit of a different sound than what people I think are used to from you guys. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you know all of our records and you've diving deep into our catalog, you'll see that there's a side of the band that's pretty rocking. And, Still a Gorilla is definitely representing the real hard sort of rocking side of the band. But I think a lot of people who might just know us from the hits might not be aware of that. So yeah, it's great. I mean, we love it. It came out really good, and it's been getting a great reaction. So we're happy about that.
To me, and I think, are you wearing a CBGB shirt?
Yes, sir.
To me, it sounds like, and I even put it in my notes here, it almost reminds me like Jim Carroll and the CBGB's kind of almost punk, grimy sound to it. I was really surprised by the way it sounded, but I really liked it. It was really, to me, like it's sort of sounds like a little bit of a throwback to that time, but also modern in a way, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's raw. I mean, it's actually I have my own sort of more jazz, sort of instrumental group that I play with. And Gorilla was just an instrumental song that I had been playing with my group for a long time. And I brought it to Chris actually about 6 or 7 years ago. We sat down because I was like, this could be cool with the Spin Doctors, and nothing really came of it. And then when me and Eric and Chris started getting together to write for this record, I brought it back, and me and Eric and Chris got together and Chris put the lyrics on it, and it wasn't quite complete, and we added one more part, and it just came together. And when we went, one of the cool things about this record that's coming out is it was really like recording these songs. It was the first time we had all played any of these songs together outside of writing sessions where maybe we would just with an acoustic guitar and vocals put it on our iPhones, and so this song, I mean, Eric's got such a killer tone on it. I mean, that distortion sound he's got, it's just got a real raw thing. So yeah, I mean, I don't know where it came from, other than just sort of some of the best rock riffs are just sort of real dumb, simple riffs, and it's just got that sort of rawness, edgy thing to it. And Eric's is such a great guitar player, and the sound and feel he put on that is just incredible,
Does this album sort of represent a new chapter for the Spin Doctors?
Absolutely. We're first of all, we have a new bass player. So it's, the original members, Mark was our original bass player. Me and Eric and Chris are still here. And Jack Daley, who's a great bass player. He's been around for a long time. He played with Lenny Kravitz for 15 years, and he's played on a lot of records, and he's very, very accomplished musician. And I've played with him a lot over the years. We've done a lot of session work together and played on some other gigs. So, he sort of just fit right in, and but he also brings something new to the band. And so yeah, it's sort of a new chapter with a new record and one new member, and we're feeling kind of revived and fresh, and we have a new record deal, we have a new booking agent, We partnered up with Primary Wave with part of our catalog. So we have a real sort of a new team around us, and it's feeling great, man. I think this is going to be the best year we've had in quite a while.
Well, I'd say it's going to be a busy one too, because from July to September, you're going out with Blues Traveler, Jim Blossoms, and you guys, of course. And you guys have a long history with Blues Traveler, even Chris and John Popper, I think, being like childhood friends, right? So what is that going to mean to you going out after all these years with a friendship that's been decades in the making?
We can't wait, man. I mean, we came up from the same scene here in New York City, and like you said, Chris went to high school with those guys. And they were the guys that they were always a couple years ahead of us. They were in New York City playing gigs before we formed by about a year or two. And those were the guys that told Chris, come to the city, man, bring your guitar, you can live with us. And Chris came to the city, and he met Eric at the new school. Actually, he met Eric through John Popper. They kind of almost had a band for like a minute, but that didn't work. And then they got reacquainted at school, and that's where I met up with them. And put the band together. But we used to play tons of shows together with Blues Traveler, in the city, and we sort of like shared a fan base. And it was a really incredible scene in New York City in that late '80s period, around 1990, when the bands were really getting going. And so it's going to be great to actually do a tour with them after all these years. And also, we have a big history with the Jim Blossoms, because we toured with them. We did a whole summer tour together back in 1994. It was Spin Doctors, Jim Blossoms, and Cracker. And we've done a lot of shows over the years with Jim Blossoms as well. So for us to be out with this lineup for the three bands is just going to be a lot of fun, man. And I think it's going to be a great show for fans, and we're definitely going to have a good time,
Well, I want to mention a couple of them. You're going to be coming, and this is a little bit out, but maybe we'll post this a little bit later too as well. August 7th, you'll be at Chesterfield Amphitheater, which is just outside of St. Louis. And then August 8th, you're playing the Missouri State Fair in Sedalia, Missouri. But also, I want to mention July 4th. You guys are going to be celebrating Independence Day at Red Rocks. I'm sure that one was circled on the tour itinerary, and looking forward to this one. What does that mean to you?
That'll be the first date of the tour. And Red Rocks, for me, holds a special place, because when I was in high school, this is going all the way back to 1984, me and my friend Kenny Stern got in his car and drove and camped out and saw three Grateful Dead shows.
Oh, wow.
It was my first time seeing the Grateful Dead. And I like the Dead a lot. I was really, really into them when I was younger. And so we went to Red Rocks and took mushrooms and saw the Dead and camped out. And so we've played there maybe 3, 4, 5 times over the years, and it's always a special. It's always special for me, because I think back when I was a kid and I went and saw the Dead there. Not to mention, I think it's the coolest venue in the country. I mean, it's just an incredible place. So it'll be a great place to start the tour. Blues Traveler has been doing every 4th of July there for like 30 years or something. I mean, it's incredible. So it's always a special night for them as well.
I imagine that one's going to be magical. I also want to talk about this residency that you guys basically have before the tour. So this is a little bit earlier in the summer, June 5th through the 8th. It seems like a residency out in Park City, Utah. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, man, it's really cool. I mean, we don't get the opportunity to do like 4 shows at the same venue in a row very often. And they have this theater out there, and they asked us to do it. And so we're psyched, and we're going to do, Park City is a great town, and we're going to try to do something different. We always switch our shows up a little bit every night. We always do the songs you expect. We're not going to not play the hits, but we'd like to mix up everything else. So we want to do, we're going to do 4 completely different shows. One of the nights we're going to do the new album in its entirety. And then we'll also do the hits as well.
Yeah.
One of the nights we're going to do Pocket Full of Kryptonite in its entirety, and then we'll also do some other stuff. And then the other 2 nights we're going to do just our regular show, which is always a mix of everything, and it's always different every night. So if you come to that, you'll see 4 completely different shows every night.
I saw that on the list there. I thought that was really cool. We've been pretty lucky. We've recently spoke to Everclear, Art from Everclear, and Blues Traveler, and Wheatus, and all 3 of those bands, and even others that we've spoke to, have talked about this sense of nostalgia, and it feels like people are appreciating the 90s and the 90s sound. Are you guys experiencing that as well?
Absolutely. I've definitely noticed the last 3 or 4 years that things have sort of been on the uptick, And what's really cool is all the young people I'm seeing at shows. That really makes us happy, because it's not just people our age who were there back in the 90s. It's them, but it's like their kids, and it's just a real crossbreed of people, and that's what you want to see. I mean, we're here to bring people together, and we like to look out there and see all kinds of people and all different age groups, and so that's really encouraging for us, and definitely, it's funny. I mean, things, when you're in a band as long as we've been, and the bands you mentioned, it's inevitable. You're gonna have your ups and downs career-wise, but you stick with it, man, and things come back around, and we're definitely experiencing that now.
Speaking of that, looking back at Pocket Full of Kryptonite, obviously a massive success. It's almost, you'll be in the mall and you hear it, or you'll be, obviously it shows up on the radio a lot. Have you ever kind of come across it in a place that you didn't expect to?
I mean, I hear it all the time. You'll be in an elevator, you'll hear it. Or I'm in a mall or like a hotel or a sporting event. I mean, it's just, it's amazing to me that the songs have had this kind of a life, and I think we're just really grateful for it. I mean, it's harder, I think, these days. I mean, we'll see what happens 20, 30 years from now, but I think it's harder for a song or a band to sort of, get into the pop culture and stay there for a long time. There's just so much coming at you all the time with social media and just sort of the way the music is now. It's sort of oversaturated. And but with that said, not everything from that era, from other eras, will continue to have the kind of life that our songs have had. So I can't really explain it. I mean, we're just really grateful for it. We've always just tried to make good music, and we've never tried to put ourselves in any particular genre. I mean, obviously we're a rock band. People always try to call you this or call you that, but I think we've just always sort of tried to just play good organic music from our heart. And I think that's the kind of stuff that usually stands the test of time.
What do you remember about recording that record, and specifically Two Princes and Little Miss Can't Be Wrong, obviously the big hits?
Man, I mean, I still remember vividly those sessions, Two Princes, oddly enough, man, I was thinking about this recently. So the first thing we did was we signed with Epic Records, and they wanted to put out an EP rather than do a full-length record. So we went into the Power Station in New York City, which is like the greatest studio in the world, It's now called Avatar, but it was called the Power Station back then. And we went in there to record what was going to be the EP. And if I remember correctly, the first song we recorded, this is like our first major big recording session, The first song we did was Two Princes, And it came out great, and we finished the EP, and everything sounded good. And then we decided, let's scrap the EP. Rather than use the studio EP, let's put out a live EP, because we're very much a live band. We figured that would be a good way to introduce people to the Spin Doctors. So we did that. Then about 6 months later, we went to another studio called RPM and recorded the rest of the record, and that was when we did Little Miss Can't Be Wrong. But I just remember those sessions were really, really fun, man. We were young, and we had been a band for a good 3 or 4 years, and we were known for gigging like 5 nights a week. So by the time we went to the studio and recorded those 2 songs, we played them probably almost 1,000 times just in gigs. So like we were a well-oiled machine when we went in and made that record. With that said, we definitely made some changes to the songs, some arrangement things, added some parts, sort of tweaked it a little bit, found ways in the studio to make them work better. But it was just a fun time, and we never expected really at that time that it was going to end up like that. We weren't thinking about, we got to have a hit record. We were really just like, let's just make a great record. We were really psyched to be making a real record and have a record deal. We had this sort of cultish fan base at the time. So it was just about making the best record we could. It honestly didn't even cross our minds that we were going to try to make a hit. And it turned out it was a long slog on the road, and it took a while before that record happened. And obviously it took off, but it was kind of, at first it was not expected by us at all.
I talk about it kind of just showing up randomly in your life. And we actually have a metal podcast, and one of our bits was pick out like your walkout song. Like if you're a baseball player, what would you walk out to kind of pump you up, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was like Metallica and Slayer. And then one of the guys on the podcast, Mike, he picked you guys. He picked Two Princes to walk out to. And said, Mike, you realize you're on a metal podcast right now. That's for a different one, though. Awesome. But I did want to mention that as a pretty funny story. Getting back to this new record, though, you're actually doing a release show as well in New York at Brooklyn Bowl on April 12th. What can the fans expect on that?
Well, we've kind of made it a tradition that we play there almost just about every year. We try to play the Brooklyn Bowl or every 2 years, and it's just always great. It's a home crowd, It's we don't play a lot of clubs these days, and it's a big size club, but we don't get to do that a lot. So it's always a lot of fun to go in there. Brooklyn Bowl. I live right down the street, so it's great for me, and it's just a great place. It sounds great. It looks great in there. We always try to do some cool stuff, mix up the set lists, and maybe we'll have some special guests. Who knows? But if you're in New York, I highly recommend coming out. It's going to be a party.
I'm in my 40s, so it's easy when you get up in age, I guess, or when you grow a little bit older. You sort of just fondly remember the music that you kind of came up with. And it's hard to kind of get out of that and embrace new music. Is there anything out there that's current right now that excites you or makes you optimistic about music in the future or even now?
I mean, I think I'm very optimistic about music. I mean, without getting into like who names or bands. I mean, because I'm horrible about remembering stuff. But like I see some incredible, just living here in New York, man. I mean, I see incredible young bands and the talent level of young musicians I feel is just incredible. I mean, I'm not the least bit worried for the future of music. I'm very optimistic about it. The thing that worries me a little bit is just that it's the way the industry is. It's just become very difficult to make a living, and it was always hard. It was hard for us, but it almost seems easy, like the path to success that we had to endure in the 90s. It's sort of like, okay, have a really good band, have some great songs, build up a following in your hometown. If you do that and you're packing clubs, management and record companies are going to find you, sign a record deal, get on the radio, get on MTV, boom, platinum record. That's really hard to do. I mean, that's not easy, but looking back on it, it seems like a no-brainer compared to what you have to do now, So, I hope we can find a way, for people to be able to get paid better and make a living, because, it's a respectable job, man, going out and bringing music to the people, man. Everybody deserves to be able to make a good living with it. So, but, we'll see how that turns out. But, with that said, it's like I see all the young talent moving to New York, and, and it's even harder to afford it now than it was then. But people do it. If you have to love what you do. I mean, we love music. I'd be doing this now with or without the success of the band. I know the other guys in the band are the same. We're lifers. And I think, you have to be a lifer. You have to be a little bit crazy to make a living and to decide to be a musician. And you have to work really hard and be really good at it and be willing to sort of, to suffer. I mean, I think the best advice I could give to any young artist is like, when you're really young, that's the time to really take a risk. Like, try not to get bogged down and like, not that there's anything wrong with this, but like, it's real. You might get a call and be like, okay, I got this top 40 gig. It's going to pay me like, great money. I can pay my bills. I don't have to worry about anything. And there's nothing wrong with that. But my suggestion is, if you really sort of have a goal in mind of what it is you want to do, the best time to do it is, between like 18 and 30, when you can still live in a shithole and you can, you don't want to wake up and be like, shit, I just sort of passed up all that time to achieve the goal I really want to achieve. And with that said, it's never too late. I don't care how old you are. You could start when you're 60 and still do something great. But, I moved to New York when I was 18, and I'm so glad I did it. It was a lot of years of struggle, and but I didn't care, because that's what you want to do, So I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged with the state of music, and I just hope that we can figure out a way to put more money in the actual artists' pockets than we're getting now,
Yeah, I would agree. And, I think, does it still sort of come back to the live experience? Like, music is great in your headphones, streaming on wherever you're listening to it, but does it still really come back to the live experiences, going out and seeing live musicians play in concert and that shared environment, that shared experience with other people? Does it still come back to that?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's all kinds of different ways to make music. I mean, I love recording records. I love writing and creating, and that's important. But yeah, I think as far as the connection with an audience, it's all about live music. And that's the one thing that nobody can take from you. I mean, the recording industry is oversaturated and underpaid and all that. But live music, if you're a good act and you go out there and play and really work hard at it, you can do very well. I mean, the live music industry is thriving. and I see there's no shortage of people that want to go out and see good music, So I always tell people again, like, okay, I get it. You got to have your social media followers and do your posts and all that bullshit. But ultimately, you need to get out in front of the people. That's what's really gonna make it happen, and it's gonna make you a better musician. And if you're in a band, it's gonna make your band better. So yeah, man, that human connection is the main thing.
Absolutely. New album, Face Full of Cake. What's the release date? Is it April 12th?
I think so. Yeah, April 12th.
Yeah, I missed that on my notes. Face Full of Cake, new album. Got the single out, Still a Gorilla, which I'm loving, by the way. Go check that video out. Hitting the road this summer with Blues Traveler and Jim Blossoms. You're going to be in our area August 7th and 8th. August 7th, you'll be at Chesterfield Amphitheater. Great venue, by the way. August 8th, you're going to be at the Missouri State Fair. And everybody can get the information at spindoctors.com. Aaron, appreciate it so much.
Thank you for having me, my man.
Let's connect when you get into town, okay?
I would love to. Maybe you can tell me where I can get some good ribs. St. Louis.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I got some recommendations for you.
All right, I'm in.
All right, man. Thanks so much.
Take care. All right, brother.